I have a secret. It's a secret that's my biggest insecurity and something I've been terribly ashamed of for many years. So what's my secret? Before I tell you, you should know it's not something I've talked openly about. My husband, parents, siblings, and 1 or 2 friends know, but that's it. And here I am today, sharing my secret in one of the most public ways possible. So what's my secret? My secret is that I battled an eating disorder for years. Now why, after all this time, am I sharing this? My biggest insecurity is something I've gone through great efforts to keep private. I'm sharing this with you today because through years of struggle and multiple failed attempts at recovery, I discovered why the relationships with our bodies, food, and exercise are broken for so many of us today, and how we can sustainably heal our relationships with our bodies, food, and exercise. My eating disorder started when I was 16. What started as a way to manage anxiety through eating healthy and exercising developed into a disorder. Slowly, my disorder started impacting the quality of my life. It isolated me from my family and friends by stealing away opportunities to see them that required me to break my rigid schedule. It prevented my body from functioning properly and menstruating. The price I paid to maintain my underweight self was inner turmoil, unhappiness, fear of gaining weight, dread of holidays and special occasions, insecurity, obsession with food and exercise, and the burden of carrying a tremendous pressure to maintain my weight and conceal my disorder. I was privileged enough to grow up in a home where my parents recognized something was wrong, and they took me to an eating disorder therapist. Over the years, I worked with several different eating disorder therapists. I took therapy seriously and did everything I was told. I would go through periods of remission, but I ultimately kept relapsing. And every time I relapsed, I felt like a complete failure. I felt like I was untreatable, a hopeless case who would never be able to recover. I felt as though I lacked self-discipline and motivation. What I know now, looking back, is that I did not lack self-discipline or motivation. In fact, I've actually had 2 eating disorder specialists tell me they've never seen somebody with so much sheer willpower. But if this was true, if I really did have more sheer willpower than anyone they've seen before, then why couldn't I recover? The reason was that I, like so many other people with eating disorders, was failed by the system. Why? Current treatment for eating disorders is weight focused. While a BMI of less than 18.5 is considered underweight, a BMI of 19 is considered healthy. I was congratulated for my BMI of 19, told that I wasn't sick, and all I needed to do was maintain my weight. But for me, maintaining a BMI of 19 meant becoming obsessive about food intake and exercise. These behaviors ultimately ended up controlling my life to some degree, taking over my day-to-day schedule, making holidays and special events times of distress rather than a time of happiness, and taking the joy and appeal out of traveling. My body is not meant to be at a BMI of 19, despite the fact that it's considered a healthy weight. You see, here's where the science and genetics comes into play. We all have what's called a set point weight, which means each of us have a preset weight that's hardwired into our DNA. What happens when you drop below your set point weight? The body goes into survival mode. When food is restricted, whether individuals have an eating disorder or not, our brains obsess about food. We crave the very foods that we restrict or forbid ourselves from eating. Now, for some people, inadequate intake or energy deficit results in lethargy, but for others, especially those with certain genetic predispositions like myself, energy deficit causes the body to have an entirely different response. It causes a strong reward response in the brain when individuals move a lot and exercise a lot and eat very little, and a strong fear response when individuals do not exercise and eat unrestricted amounts or types of food. Now, this is exactly what happened to me, as well as many others with eating disorders. I felt positive emotions when I was over-exercising and under-eating, and negative emotions when I didn't exercise or ate unrestricted amounts or types of food. Why? Let's think back to our ancestors. When food ran out, there was no other choice but to go out in search of food. Those who were able to move and not consume a lot in times of food shortage were the most likely to survive. Now, of course, in this day and age, where food is more easily accessible and widely available, the ability to move a lot and eat very little are no longer needed for survival. But evolution hasn't caught up, and these genes and biological processes still become activated when individuals with genetic predispositions go into energy deficit. But broken relationships with our bodies, food, and exercise are not just biological and are certainly not unique to those with eating disorders. 75% of American women between the ages of 25 and 45 have disordered eating. And half of 9 to 10-year-old girls in America are dieting. And while 49.3% of Americans are trying to lose weight, 95% of diets fail, and most regain the weight they lost and more within 1 to 5 years. But the problem isn't that people fail diets, lack motivation, or are lazy. The problem is that diets fail people. And the way to heal our broken relationships with our bodies and food is as follows. We have to respect our bodies. What does that mean? We have to let go of the notions of being a certain weight, having a particular body shape, and food and exercise rules. That means no forbidden foods, no diets, no forcing ourselves to do a certain exercise for a certain amount of time. If this sounds completely crazy to you, that's okay. Just hear me out. When we have no forbidden foods or food rules, these foods lose their power over us. A piece of chocolate becomes emotionally equivalent to a piece of fruit. Allowing ourselves to eat whatever we want, whenever we want, while respecting our hunger and fullness, and that part is key, is the secret to making peace with food. The secret to healing our relationship with exercise? We have to stop viewing it as a means to control our weight and change our body shape or size. Instead, moving our bodies in a way that feels good and brings us joy should be the goal. Try walking in the sunshine, dancing, or whatever brings you joy. Now, for those of you who might be thinking, is she suggesting that we all become unhealthy and gain excess weight? No, not at all. By respecting our hunger and fullness and letting go of food and exercise rules, we allow our bodies to return to their own unique pre-programmed set point weight, which is the healthiest weight for each one of us. Some of us are meant to be in a larger body, while others in a smaller body. And that uniqueness and diversity is beautiful. If letting go of food rules, diets, and exercise regimens scares you, it's okay. Society has taught us that if we are not actively doing something to change our bodies through food or exercise, We are lazy, unhealthy, and not doing enough. Society tells us that to be loved and accepted by others, our bodies have to look a certain way. And that is the only way to be happy with ourselves. Do you know what's even crazier? Society tells us that in order to love ourselves and be happy, our bodies have to look a certain way. The truth is, these are all lies. It wasn't until I completely let go of weight, started eating whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and started moving my body for joy that I was able to heal my relationship with my body, food, and exercise. Don't get me wrong. When I first started this process, I craved baked goods, candy, and other foods I had previously restricted. But I didn't really crave fruits or vegetables. At first, I ate a lot of foods that I had previously restricted. But then something crazy happened. As soon as my brain learned that certain foods were no longer limited or forbidden, they lost their appeal. Yeah, sometimes I still want dessert, candy, or other energy-dense foods, but most of the time I don't. Instead, I crave fruits, vegetables, and other nutrient-dense foods. Why? Because our bodies are amazingly smart survival machines. Our bodies know what nutrients we need, and we naturally crave foods with these nutrients that allow us to survive optimally. Did I gain weight during the process? Yeah. But let me tell you something. I am happier, healthier, and more free than I have ever been in my entire life. And you can feel this way too. What I've gained in healing and making peace with my body, food, and exercise is the opportunity to meet and fall in love with my husband, launch a company I've always dreamed of, become a children's book author, and pursue other dreams in my career as a geneticist and bioethicist. I'm so proud to say that I sincerely love my body today, and I'm at peace with food and exercise. I've been fortunate enough to make a full recovery, and my body is healthy. So healthy, in fact, that my husband are now pregnant with our first child, which we are expecting in a few weeks. I would like to leave you with this. Please think about the food and exercise rules that you might subconsciously be following. Think about the lies society tells you, the lies about how your body size and shape is correlated with your self-worth, the lies about how your ability to be loved and accepted by yourself and others is dependent on your body size and shape. Now, let go of all those rules and challenge these lies that society has led you to believe. From here onwards, eat what you want, when you want, while honoring your hunger and fullness. Move your body for joy. Let go of your obsessions with weight, shape, BMI, and most importantly, trust your body. Can you imagine how much more free our minds will become when our thoughts are no longer consumed by controlling our weight and obsessing over food and the latest diet? We need to treat ourselves with more kindness and empathy, conquering our critics within, and challenge the beliefs society has burdened us with in order to heal our relationships with our bodies and really ourselves. After all, hatred and a lack of empathy towards others stems from a hatred and lack of empathy towards ourselves. Let me say that again. Hatred and lack of empathy towards others stems from hatred and lack of empathy towards ourselves. Being kinder and more empathetic towards ourselves will allow us to be kinder and more empathetic towards those around us. Healing our relationships with our own bodies will allow us to be more accepting of the bodies of others, eventually ending stigmas, bullying, and societal pressures that even our youngest generations are acutely attuned to. So, in the process of trusting your body, letting go of food and exercise rules, and challenging societal messages, not only will you be personally liberated and happier with yourself and your body, if we embark on this journey together, we can change the world.